This is the third part of chapter 1. We said we have 3 questions we have to answer. The first one is what to produce, the second one is how to produce, and the third one for whom to produce. So what does it mean what to produce? It means what goods and services to produce and in what quantities. The second question is how to produce, which means how many labor and capital we need to produce each good. And finally, the third question is for whom to produce. This is related to distribution of the production. So decide who will get the output from the country's economic activity and how much they will get. So what to produce related to the production, how to produce related to the technology, the third one for whom to produce related to distribution. So let us have one example. When an economy produces more houses and fewer typewriters, this is the answer of what, how, where, and for whom. As you see here, we have produce, house, and typewriters. So the answer is what? But when we say, when China builds a dam using few machines and great deal of labor, so we have machines and labor, which means this is related to the technology or technician. So what we call this is answering what or for whom, when, where, and how. What is the right answer, you think? Yes, you are right. How? The last part in this chapter is related to production possibility curve. What does it mean, production possibility curve? It is a curve that shows the maximum amount of the two goods that can be produced by using limited resources and fixed technology. When I draw the PPC, I have 3 assumptions. The first one, there is a fixed quantity and quality of available resources. Number 2, technology is fixed. And number 3, there is no unemployment resources, which means we have full employment. So let us have this example. If the economy X produces 2 goods, pizza and cola, and they have only 10 labors, so they have many options, as you see, A, B, C, D, E, and F. So we have different choices. We can choose A, 0 pizza and 15 cola, or choice B, 1 pizza and 14 cola, or C, 2 pizza and 12 cola. As we see here, as we produce more pizza, the quantity of cola production is decreasing. So can you find the opportunity cost for each pizza? Please try at home. So as we see here, we cannot produce more than 15 and 0, or we cannot produce more than 14 and 1. So all these choices, I can select one of them. If I take these numbers together, what can we do? We can have a curve like this. As you see, we put here pizza in the horizontal axis, and we put cola in the vertical axis. So what is the shape of the curve? You see, this is the shape of the curve, and this is what we call production possibility curve. In this curve, we can say we have 3 areas. The first area here, this is, we call it attainable, which means we can produce it, like point Z. We can produce it, yes. We have another point, which is point E. We can produce it, yes. What about here? We cannot produce it. So we can say the production curve, it is a boundary between attainable and unattainable, or a boundary between what we can produce and what we cannot produce. But what's the difference between point Z and point E? Point Z, I can produce it, but it is not efficient because I can produce point E. So which one is better, Z or E? Of course, you are right, E, because E on the curve. So we can say all the points on the curve, I can produce it attainable and efficient. While any point inside the curve, attainable but inefficient. While any point outside the curve, we can say it is unattainable or we cannot produce it. When we talk about PPF or production possibility curve, we have something called economic growth. What does it mean, economic growth? Economic growth means we are producing more of the two goods. So there are 2 factors will lead to economic growth: technological change and capital accumulation. If we have more capital, if we accumulate more capital, more machines, we can produce more. If we are starting to use new technology, new machines, of course, we will produce more. When we talk about capital, here we talk about two types of capital, either machines or physical capital or human capital. Human capital, it means I give experience or more education or training for laborers. So this is the meaning of technology change. It is a development of new goods and of better ways of production, of producing goods and services, while capital accumulation, it is the growth of capital resources, which includes what? Human capital. The curve could shift like this. This is the curve, the first one, and could be shifted to the right. So before, if we don't have this curve, we can say point A is efficient, point D inefficient, while point C unattainable. But if we have economic growth, the curve will shift to the right, as you see here. So if curve shifts right, it means we have increase in production in output 1 and output 2. And what we call this? We call it economic growth. But the curve could shift to the left, like this. Which means rather than producing X1, we will produce less, X2. Rather than producing Y1, we will produce Y2. This is what we call it economic recession or contraction. So if the curve shifts right, increase in production, we call it economic growth. If the curve shifts left, this is decrease in production and we call it economic recession. But what about this curve? As you see here, this is the initial one. We are producing 5 pizza and 10 pizza ovens, for example. If we decide to produce more of pizza, what will happen? We will move from 5 to 7. But as you see here, the production of pizza ovens doesn't change. So what the curve shows, it shows we are producing more of this good, where we are moving from A to A dash, but we don't produce more of other goods, or we are producing the same amount of this good, which is point C. Okay, so if BB, we can call it BBF or BBC, the same. If BBF shifts right, we call it economic growth. If BBF shifts left, we call it economic recession. So if we have two goods, let's say cars and guns, so what will happen if we have advanced technology in guns production? Of course, BBF will shift to the right for two goods, or for one good, or for gun. What do you think? Yes, you're right. We will produce more of guns, but the cars will not change. What about question number 2? Labor's decrease in cars production. What will happen? Cars and guns will increase, cars will decrease, or guns will decrease. What do you think? Labor decrease in cars production, it means we will produce less of cars, but fixed amount of guns. But question number 3, if we have advanced technology in both goods, what does it mean? It means we will produce more of two goods. I will produce more of cars, more of guns. So what we call this? We call it economic growth. The last point is talk about marginal benefit and marginal cost. Marginal benefit means the benefit that arise from an increase in activity, while marginal cost, the cost that increases due to an activity. So when we compare about benefit and cost, of course, if benefit more than cost, I will consume or buy more. While if benefit less than cost, I will consume or buy less. But what is the equilibrium here, or allocated efficiency, where marginal cost equals marginal benefit? So when MP equal MC, you will be satisfied, which means no more, no less. This is the quiz, the question, and this is related to marginal benefit and marginal cost. So what happens here? This is the shape of the marginal benefit, and this is the shape of marginal cost. Where is the equilibrium? The equilibrium happens here. Here we have equilibrium point where marginal benefit equal marginal cost. So we will produce or buy 25 units of pizza when marginal benefit equal marginal cost equal 3 units. This is the end of chapter 1. Thank you very much and best of luck, and see you inshallah later in new chapter, which is chapter 3, demand, supply and market equilibrium. Thank you very much.